y'all, it's Jonathan with Texas 2.5. Welcome back for another exciting edition. We had a little bit of fun yesterday playing around and doing some testing on my new Weber Smoky Mountain. But today we are back to the brand new 20x42 Lone Star Grillz offset. We're going to have some fun with it today. I've only done two videos on this. I've only fired the thing up twice and I've owned it over a month. Life has been busy and crazy and traveling. We've done a lot of crazy Alaska videos and test videos and other things, but folks, it's time to cook. So today we're getting some meat out, we're getting some fire on, and we're going to throw down on the Lone Star Grillz. Stick around. Hey y'all, we're going to have some power tool fun today as well. Because in my first cook video, Chris Goodlander from Lone Star Grillz commented under my video that based on the size splits I was using, I should cut these in half and it would, my LSG would burn better. So I'm going to give that a try. What I have most readily available to me here with my wood supplier in Minnesota is cherry and also red oak. So those are the two things that I'm going to be mixing up today. I got a 50-50 load of that delivered from him back in the winter, and I got plenty to last me for probably 2 years of smoking. So let's have some power tool fun. We'll be doing that a couple more times a day. That'll be fun. Alright, so here's a quick look at my initial Firebox setup. I did a pretty full chimney of Western lump. I got that really rocking. I dumped it in, of course using my gloves, because this Firebox is just a little bit too small to easily dump the full-sized Weber chimney out inside of. The chimney is almost up to the top there, so it's hard to turn it over like this. So I just dumped it. I went straight in with my gloves and then I just picked up the back. And the wood I'm using both of those little cherry chunks that I just cut, and it's hard to tell, but I sort of have them laid one in the back and one on the side, and then I took one of the red oak chunks, the smaller of the two, and I laid it across those other two splits. It looks like it's resting on my charcoal, but it's actually not. There's airspace below that piece of oak, so that entire bed of coal has air to breathe and room to work with. Alright, so here's what we're working with today. I have 2 racks of Hormel tender pork loin back ribs. I got these buy one get one free, so we couldn't pass that up. And what I'm going to be using today on those is Cosmo's Honey Killer Bee. I also got a pork shoulder roast, pork butt, that I'm going to be actually using John Henry's Texas brisket rub on. I'm going to do a Texas style pork butt today. And honestly, I just really want to use this John Henry's stuff. I bought it a while ago and I've heard awesome things about it and I haven't had a chance to use it yet. So I'm using it on the pork butt. I don't care if it says brisket. We're going to try it out. And then the last thing I got was a pork belly from Costco. We're going to throw that on today. We're going to do that basically pulled pork style. I'll try to crisp the skin up at the end, but I've never done a pork belly before, so we'll see how successful that is. The style I'm going for is sort of something I saw from Malcolm Reed, and I'll put a link to his video below. The rub I'm using for that is a rub you probably won't be able to get your hands on. This is from up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, a little hometown coffee shop up there. I believe in Calumet, if I remember correctly. Keweenaw Coffee Works. And this is a coffee spice rub, and it's not very sweet. I'm actually, and I told you wrong, I'm actually using this one on the ribs, and I'm using Cosmo's Honey Killer Bee on the pork belly. So make that correction in your head. I'm using the Keweenaw Coffee Spice Rub on the ribs because I've never used it before. It was a gift. It looks awesome, and I want to try it out. But if you look at the ingredients, you'll notice that it has very little sweet in it. The very last ingredient, which means the smallest ingredient by volume, is dark brown sugar, and that's the only sugar in it. Um, I'm gonna still do these sweet though because I like ribs sweet, but I'm gonna wait till the end and add my sweet at the end when a lot of guys do their butter and brown sugar and all that. I'll do some brown sugar at the end, and I'm also gonna put on my ribs this Truly Texas raspberry habanero jelly. And again, another gift from a friend from Texas, and something I haven't had a chance to try yet. So we're gonna try that out from Truly Texas and see how that goes on the ribs. So again, pork belly, pork shoulder, and then the ribs are going to have these and a little bit of brown sugar sweet, maybe a little bit of honey too. We'll sweeten them up at the end whenever they're almost finished. That's what we got going today. All right, folks, I did crack this door because I was producing so much white, harsh smoke. Before I went inside to prep the meat, I cracked it. That was about 45, maybe 30 minutes ago, 35 minutes ago. Got a beautiful little clean fire burning there now. I love the tip from Chris Goodlander on my splits being too big. That was so helpful. Even so, with the door cracked, she still got up to 225, almost 230 while we were in there. That's perfect. She'll climb up even a little bit more as soon as now that I shut that door, and that'll be perfect because I like to cook. I like to smoke between 275 and 300 most of the time. And the nice thing about this 2-zone Lone Star is whatever this temperature here says, it'll be 25 degrees warmer on the top grate and 25 degrees cooler on the bottom grate. There's about a 50-degree 2-zone split in this thing, and left to right it only varies about 5 degrees. So I can put my ribs on the bottom and cook them at 225 or 250, and I can put my pork butt and my pork belly on the top and cook them at 275 or 300. I tell you what, y'all, I must really love you because I am sacrificing temps big time to show you this beautiful start to a Saturday cook. All right, 2-hour update. I just ate lunch, was inside for a while. My fire got a tiny bit lower than I would have liked, but not too bad. She's coming right back. I threw in a real skinny piece of cherry in the back, and then I cut that oak split that y'all saw earlier in half long ways again so that she'd catch real good, and she did. So fire's coming back. I was only about down to 220 or 210, so it was not a big deal. That'll come right back up right away. Let's take a look at the meat here at the 2-hour mark. Already recovered from about 10 degrees. Nice bark forming on the hot side here. That heat, if you watched my previous LSG videos, the one where I cover this baffling system in here, that heat rolls right up through a real tight gap and comes right across the top, goes down. Some of the heat escapes out the chimney, but some of it wraps back around and keeps this smoker nice and even side to side. Anyways, that pork butt's looking good. I'll turn that around here in a minute after I shut the video off to start getting even bark on the other side. That pork belly is looking golden and delicious and juicy, and the ribs are starting to look a little bit dry on top. So I am going to actually just get a brush, and all that grease that's dripping down from the pork belly, I'll spread around on them because I'm not a spray your ribs guy. My philosophy when it comes to barbecue is don't do anything that you do not absolutely have to do, and I've always enjoyed ribs without spray, so I don't do it. One interesting tidbit on these LSGs is they tell you right up front you need to maintain your hinges on the Firebox door, and even though I've only had this about a month, those babies were super tight when I started cooking today. And it actually concerned me a little bit because I was thinking, oh boy, I don't know if these are going to loosen back up. They feel really tight. It was difficult to open the door. But I just dripped some olive oil, and so I just used that easy squirt tip to fill this hinge up with olive oil and this one, and I drizzled some around the outside, and I'm telling you, instantly that door started opening up and smooth again, to the point where I was able to easily get it nice and smooth out to 180 degrees. Whereas, before I did that, it was real tight through here and it wanted to stop about right here, and I didn't want to force it any further. But now with that little bit of oil on there, that thing swings open easy. So they're real upfront about that. They say to maintain your hinges and you need to do it. And so probably about once a month I'll need to oil those hinges up good and they come back as good as new. I'm happy with that. All right, y'all, I thought we were done for a little while, but I forgot. Hey, you gotta wrap these ribs when they start getting dry. So I went inside and grabbed the stuff, and we're gonna sweeten up these ribs a little bit. They are feeling like they're getting tender. We're making progress. First of all, I'm gonna spread this fat dripping down from this pork belly up here. I'm gonna get that pork belly grease all over this rib. Then I'm gonna supplement that with some little slivers of butter. If you don't have spread butter, that's okay. I'll pick some up eventually, but for today, I just took a stick of butter out of the fridge and cut some thin slivers long ways, and I'll baste that on here in a minute. A little bit of honey. Remember, the rub we put on these ribs was primarily coffee, and there was only a little bit of sugar in it. A lot of strong flavors in it, not a lot of sugar. Now, I've never tried this truly Texas raspberry habanero before. Raspberry habanero jelly. But it looks amazing. It's real dark and rich. Really thick stuff. I might have to give that a little taste. Oh man, that is delicious. At first it's all sweet and you're thinking, oh, I can handle that. And then just at the very end, you just get a hint of habanero in the back of your throat. That's a very pleasant and delightful experience. And we're just going to get that all over. And the good thing is, our rub has set up so nicely and firmly on here that as I'm brushing this, it is not even budging any of that rub. None of that rub is coming off. A little brown sugar for that little extra sweetness. And then what I like to do is I like to flip these over down, upside down like that. Put a little bit, just a touch more moisture on the backside. This time I'm going to use honey. You could use a little more butter. Well, I'll use a little more jelly just because these been on for 2.5 hours. And they are looking a little, just a touch on the dry side. And I want to get these things nice and moist and tender. So we're going to make sure that backside stays really juicy. And I like to press the tin foil gently down on this back side of the baby backs so that it follows the contour of the ribs, because I want that moisture basically vacuum sealed up against the back side of those ribs while they're cooking. I notice a lot of guys that wrap their ribs on YouTube just leave it flat with a big airspace in there, and that's fine. That creates a nice steaming effect. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to make a huge difference. I'm not trying to say pressing down on it is, the new secret in the barbecue world. But the reason I do it is because I want the foil in contact with the ribs all the way around, because I want it keeping the ribs in contact with all of those good flavors that I just been putting in there the whole time it's cooking. So I'm gonna do this rack here the same way. So y'all come back, check out the finished product. All right, we're approaching the 3.5 hour mark. And the reason we're back is not to check the meat, but I wanted to give you a couple of quick temperature related updates. First of all, I decided to go ahead and use my meter. I've been forgetting that I have one of those new wireless meter probe thermometers. I've been wanting to use it on a cook, and having a nice thick piece of meat like a pork butt in there is a good opportunity to do it. Temperature wise, it's confirming what LSG says. That bottom grate, the meter is reading about 25 or 30 degrees cooler than the thermometer. And I just threw some new sticks in, so my temperature is rising pretty quickly. I'll come over here and choke that back a little bit because I'm fine with it being at 300, but I don't want it to go past 300 too far. All right, boys and girls, it's about 5 hours in, and the only reason I left the ribs on that long is because I ran to Lowe's for about an hour to get a whole bunch of equipment picked up for my SCA steak comp next Saturday. So I figured, you know what, if the ribs are a little bit too fall off the bone, it's not going to be the end of the world. But let's check them out. They feel incredibly tender, and I can hear the juice sloshing around in there. Wow, there is a lot of it. I'm hoping that I will be able to get these guys back on the grill long enough to tack up this sauce. Man, that is juicy. Wow. I'm gonna have to be careful. I'm gonna get that all over everything. I'll get it all over everything anyways. That is some ridiculous juice. Real nice pullback. Real nice tenderness on these. They're definitely going to be a little more tender than I prefer. Let's see if we can keep them together using both hands like that. That should work. I'm not going to need to baste these at all when I put them on. What I'm going to do is take off this dirty glove, lift my lid. Wow, get a face full, because I just threw on a new log when I got home. All I'm going to do is set these in here for 15 minutes to dry them off just a hair. Hope y'all are okay with that. Hope y'all approve. If not, well, write me a letter. But look at this pork belly. Look at the black crust forming on that. Y'all hear that? There's some, this side is really crispy, the side that's been towards the fire. And that juice is looking delicious. Spread a little bit of that out. And wow. I'm going to flip it around and get this in firmed up a little bit. I'm going to take a quick temp with the Tell-Tru, and I bet that sucker's going to be ready to go. Now here's a pro tip for you. If you got all your, big old messy gloves on, 2 layers, you can't get your phone to turn on and off when you want it to because your fingers are all covered up. And you can't make skin contact with your on and off button. Here's a pro barbecue tip for you. Use your tongue. I changed my mind, y'all. I'm gonna quick glaze these ribs in their own juices from this tin foil, mixed 50-50 with Lambert's sweet sauce of mine, which I've never used before, but I saw some at Lowe's and I couldn't pass it up because I love their sweet rub of mine. That's a real good rub on pork and chicken. And I just took a taste of that barbecue sauce. I just mixed it in here with these awesome juices. And I'm going to baste these down real good. And by the way, it's only been 5 minutes since I turned that camera off. And when I left, this was a pair of very, very wet and loose ribs. And just 5 minutes in that heat already tightened them up nicely, dried out that top really well. So I think basting them like this is the right call. And it's still a couple hours before supper time for us. This pork belly ain't done, and neither is the pork butt. So what I'm going to do, about 10 more minutes when I pull these ribs off the grill, I'm going to put them in fresh, heavy-duty foil and wrap them up and just let them sit on the counter and very slowly cool down until supper time in a couple hours. Just playing with it, just having fun. Like T-Roy says, and like Malcolm says, and like Russ Jones says, if you don't like it, hey, do it your way. But I'm doing it mine. Now let's pull this pork belly off. And hopefully we can get this bad boy cranked up at 300. That is looking beautiful. Wow. It's a little soggy in the middle where I poured that juice from the ribs. I poured that whole tin foil, both those tin foils, all over the pork belly and the pork butt, and I basted those ribs as you saw. So I used all of that rib juice to keep things nice and juicy. So now, let me make sure, yep, got y'all on. Hey, another pro tip, Lone Star Grillz owners. If you got this collapsible shelf, heavy duty tin foil is 18 inches wide. This shelf is 10 inches wide. If you don't want your tin foil flying around on you, fold it, tuck 4 inches back there and crease it. Crease the other 4 inches on the front of the table. Get yourself a nice flat foil surface that won't blow away on you. This way you don't need a rock, you don't have to set your camera on here or your barbecue sauce or whatever. Nice flat surface to work with that's tucked around those corners. Oh man, that is tender. And you'll be all set. Then you can just pull it and slowly start wrapping her up. Alright y'all, the ribs have been done for a while. Those are in the oven. The pork belly looks amazing. That's in the oven. Pork butt is at 188, so I'll be pulling that off in the next 15 or 20 minutes. I would like to go to 200, but I'm hungry. And you know what? This is barbecue. I don't care what the book says. 200, 205. We all know it ain't about specific temperature. It's about having fun, eating when you're hungry, and hey, I hope it's tender as all get out, but it may not be. We'll see. It sure looks great though. You see, that's the same side earlier that didn't have any bark on it. I put that right next to the hottest part of this LSG for a good couple hours, between 250, 275, max of 300 for a few minutes. Look at that bubblicious goodness. I mean, that is going to be tasty. I don't care if it's 188, 195, 202. It don't matter. That's going to be real good. And that bark came along really nicely at the end. So all in all, it's been a little over 7 hours. And it'll be about 8 by the time I pull that pork butt and we have it. But let's go take some pictures and some video of the finished product. And then I'll let y'all get out of here. Because, man, I promised myself I was going to make short YouTube videos. Y'all know that hasn't happened. Alright, y'all. I forgot my tripod, so this is going to be messy. Here's a look at the ribs. I always double cut my ribs. So I end up with empty bones. And I end up with double wides. That's one rib right there. But I'm going to sample one of the skinny ones that I cut so I can save those double wides for my family. So here's how they go. I'm eating ribs, Peace. You want some ribs? Yeah. Okay. That's really good. It's a little more tender than you'd want it for comp. But for home cooking, I'm on board. And man, that raspberry habanero, nice sweet touch, and it's not that hot, I promise you. I'm not a spicy guy. At most, I like mild to medium. And even though there is just a twinge of heat at the end on the very back of your tongue, it doesn't follow you all the way down your throat. That's some really good jelly from Truly, Texas. I highly recommend it. Alright y'all, it's not very often I get to say this, but this is my first ever bite of this kind of barbecue, this pork belly. I have never had pork belly, and I didn't get the skin as crispy as I would like because I had to wrap it up, because when it got done we weren't ready for supper yet. Anyhow, I just cut this little piece right here right out of the skin, so it's not crispy, but look at how juicy and delicious. And then when we get down underneath to where the actual bacon is, that's going to be even better. So check this out. Our skin's just a hair tough because I didn't get it nice and crispy. But there is nothing gross about it. I was wondering what it was going to be like on my first attempt, and even though I didn't get it crunchy, man, that is delicious. Wow. And now look at this. Now I'm going to go down underneath. Oh, look how wet and glistening that is. That is amazing looking. I kind of want to put that piece in my mouth before I'm even done with this piece from the top of the skin. That's really good. Wow. That is a lot like pulled pork. Guys said, you're going to think that's a lot like pulled pork? I agree. It has the same kind of flavor and texture as pulled pork. But you saw me just flip it over. And look at this. I mean, look at this juicy goodness. That's just shredding. Awesome smoke ring. Man, I love that LSG. Look at this big old moist piece. That's hot. Folks, if you've never done a pork belly, you gotta do it. You gotta try it. That is so juicy. So delicious. I'm gonna let y'all go so I can get into it. I decided to leave that pork butt on for another hour. I may or may not include that at the end of this video. If not, your feelings won't be hurt. You've seen pulled pork before. But you got to see raspberry habanero ribs. And you got to see Cosmos Q honey killer bee rubbed pork belly. And boy, did that turn out. Y'all come back now, you hear? Alright, I had to bring y'all back for one more bite of this pork belly because I figured out that over here in this corner, I did get it crunchy. At least crunchier. So I just pulled a thin piece of the skin right off the top of that. Amazing. Oh, amazing. I mean, look at that. It's like gelatin. That amazing strands of pork meat. Let me pull one of those out of there. Just show y'all. This is what Malcolm Reed showed in his video that they make little rosettes out of at barbecue competitions. They wind these up into a little rosette. I'm not going to be able to do one pretty. Certainly not with one hand. They make a little rose out of it, and they turn that into a dessert. But here, what I'm interested in y'all seeing is this piece of skin right here. I'm putting maple syrup on the next one of these that I do. And we're going to have some pig candy because that is some good eating. Wow. And while I'm at it, let me pop this rosette into my mouth. I'm going to take a bite instead of putting the whole thing in. Wow. Pork belly, where have you been all my life? That's something else. Alright, just so nobody complains, here's the pork butt. Let's get a focus here, camera. She looks beautiful. She pulls apart nice. Got a good smoke ring. Love it. Alright, a couple final notes. As I did on my last cook, I am going to get this baby rocking back up in the 300 range so that I can put some water in it Everything you see down in there right now is all grease pooled up in there from today's cook. So I'm gonna get this baby nice and hot so that I can spray out the inside with my garden hose and drain it out with that nice little 1.25 inch ball valve setup that LSG puts on. It'll probably take me 2 5-gallon buckets worth of water to clean this thing out, because I'll do it twice. You know, put about 3 gallons in there, get it boiling hot, drain it all, do the same thing again. So that's how I clean out my LSG, and that seems to work fine. I did that last time, and when I opened her up this time, she was good to go, nice and clean on the inside. So that's how I do my cleanup maintenance, in case you're wondering. And this is how big of a fire I build to clean this baby. I would never cook with this big of a fire, obviously, but what I'm trying to do right now is boil water as quickly as possible. So I put 3 whole new splits in there just for cleaning. And what that'll do is, that'll keep me from getting rusty, because not only is that going to boil water twice for me in the belly of that thing so that I can do 2 full flushes of the grease, but there's going to be enough fuel in there to then dry everything out for another good hour, hour and a half after the whole boiling process has been completed. So it'll burn all the excess water off, it'll burn all the rain off we just had in the last hour, and every time I roll this baby back in my garage, she's dry as a bone and cleaned out. I love the LSG. That's my second cook on it, and I had a previous offset that I only used 5 or 6 times before I got rid of it. I bought it used on Craigslist. I got my money back out of it, thankfully. But I hated that thing. And it's a long story, but Chris Goodlander at LSG helped explain to me why I hated it, because I gave him the specs on it and he knew exactly what I was talking about, and he explained to me a little bit about offset design and engineering. And I'm telling you, if you are looking for an offset smoker, even if you don't buy an LSG, do yourself a favor and call Chris Goodlander at Lone Star Grillz and just ask him some questions about what makes a good offset, what makes good airflow, what makes good fire management in an offset. The guy knows what he's talking about, and he educated me. He gave me more in 10 minutes than I learned in my 5 or 6 cooks on my own trying to manage that old offset. The LSG is awesome. I'm not perfect at it yet. Guys like T-Roy, with years of offset experience behind them, are better at their LSG pits than I am, because and Russ Jones, his LSG pit, are better than I am because they have way more experience. And so if you are you know, a pro or a semi-pro smoker, you can get far better results even than I've been getting. But my results, even as a beginner on an offset, are better than what they were on that bad pit that I had before. And that's sort of, you beginners and just a little bit above beginners are sort of my main aim on this channel, because that's where I'm at. And so I hope videos like this give hope to guys who are thinking about getting an offset for the first time, or who are thinking about going with a Lone Star and aren't really sure if they're going to like the offset experience. You can do it. If you like even just a little bit of playing with fire, you can do it with a Lone Star. It's fun. I like playing with the sticks and burning on there, and so it's been a lot of fun. The downside of today's cook is the meter. In my particular setup, I cannot walk more than 10 feet away from my smoker without the meter disconnecting. Now, that's not necessarily true if I stay outside. And I don't know if it's because of the thickness, the 3/16 cook chamber steel on my smoker. I don't know what it is. Other guys have had better results with the meter. It's supposed to go up to 33 feet, but I can't even walk 15 feet from my smoker to my garage. As soon as I turn the corner into my garage, the meter disconnects. And I cannot get it at any point in my house, even if there's only a glass window between me and the smoker. The closest glass window is about 18 feet from my smoker, maybe 20 feet, and can't get it there. So I can only get it when I'm standing outside within sight of the pit, which doesn't work for me. I could try, you know, you can try connecting it to the cloud or to MeterLink or whatever it's called. I tried doing that today with our iPad 2, and our iPad 2 is so old that it doesn't support the Bluetooth, the kind of Bluetooth that meter requires, which is super annoying. So I don't know if we're going to keep the meter or if I'm just going to sell it to somebody um, who it works better for. I don't know if it's, again, the steel in my smoker or the way our walls are built or too much interference in my neighborhood. But I'm going to have to go with something um, a little bit uh, more user friendly for my situation. So that was the downside. But I love the concept of the meter. And if they ever get that meter block out, supposedly that will help also with wireless connectivity and range and all that. But for whatever reason, I can't use my iPad tablet to get further distance like you're supposed to be able to do with the meter. So I'm probably just going to sell it because I ain't buying a new iPad just so I can run a $60 app. Um, Anyhow, that's the only downside today. And I don't want to finish on that note. I don't want to dwell on that. What I want to say is the LSG was awesome. Go for it if you're on the fence and you have the money to get one. Grab one. These new 20-inch models are really cool. One last note on cleaning it. And just for safety's sake, I want to mention this for those guys who do own one and haven't tried cleaning it with water the way that I explained a few minutes ago. If you're not used to cooking with water and you get your smoker up to 350 with a belly of water, be careful when you open your smoker door. If you think a harsh white smoke facial burns, just wait till you mix that with a whole bunch of hot steam coming out of there, and it just intensifies the pain of the eye and nose facial burn. I made that mistake tonight. The water wasn't even boiling yet, but it had built up enough steam and humidity where I just went over and opened it, totally naive, and I got hit with that humid, thick, white, harsh smoke because I had just put 3 new logs in there. So be careful on that. And also, one other safety tip, if you use a bucket like I do underneath to dump your greasy water out, wear your big old welding gloves, like your fire management gloves when you're doing that, and go ahead and put a cold gallon of water from your hose in the bottom of that bucket, and then put 3 gallons of warm water from your smoker in dirty water. And that way, if your water coming out of your smoker is super hot, it won't burn you when you're slugging that bucket over to wherever you're going to dump it. I don't get my water up to boiling. The water, I try to only let the 3 gallons of water that I put in the bottom sit for about 10 or 12 minutes. And it's still not hot enough to burn my skin whenever I'm pouring it out that 1.25 inch valve. But you know, just be careful with it. There's that hot steam and that hot water that'll scald your face off real quick, and your arm and hand skin if you're not prepared for it. So use those tips. You'll love your Lone Star if you get one, or if you just got one. I know several guys are starting to get theirs in the mail on the truck, and so good luck to you guys. Thanks for all of you who have been following and watching and giving me awesome, nice feedback and comments. I'm a young channel, but I'm hoping to grow this thing, and our next goal is 1,000 subscribers. So y'all share the word, spread the news, give me questions, give me tips and feedback and comments. I love all that stuff. I'm having a great time cooking on this thing and sharing the journey with you guys. Take care.